Hello, fellow readers. My name is Riley Forbes, and I chose to read Silent Spring for the Summer A Biology Book Project. Silent Spring by Rachel Carson was a novel written in 1962 that initiated the environmental movement. The book was a combination of experiments and historical problems that uncovered potential dangers of using pesticides for the extinction of different insects. Carson developed a strong view on the subject and left the reader with both the positives and negatives of spraying chemicals, which I hope you will take away from this PowerPoint. Silent Spring fights back at the growing chemical industry in an attempt to halt the destruction of pesticides while also educating the minds of society. This picture represents all of the commonly used pesticides such as Dieldrin and DDT and is a visual representation of the destruction that will continue if the use of pesticides does not stop. The pesticide war, which is pictured on this slide, is a battle that can never be won. It begins when an enemy, usually an insect, is selected for extermination and the first chemical is sprayed. Over time, the spraying becomes more frequent and the amount of chemicals sprayed increases. After a while, the target insects exposed to this chemical become resistant, and a stronger chemical of higher concentration is needed to wipe out the insects. This cycle continues, and when we think we have won, there is more to come. The pesticide model is a simple model that shows both the pesticide movement and the pesticide degradation. As humans, we have to realize that all actions have consequences, and spraying pesticides can cause leaching into the soil and water, which in turn can affect the plants and animals that rely on both these resources. This is very dangerous as it can lead to the death and extinction of wanted species, or the contamination of once usable water and soil. Also, because pesticides can last years in the soil, many plants grown in past soil can become unfit for market because of the amount of pesticides produced in a plant. This is one example of a food web created by plants and animals in a certain environment. Each arrow represents the predator versus prey, as well as the energy that is consumed by a specific animal. For example, the earthworm is a decomposer that consumes bacteria and then gets rid of it into the soil. However, if the dead leaves were to have fallen off a plant sprayed with pesticides, this one unnatural action could disrupt the delicate system. The bacteria would eat the leaves, causing it to take in the pesticides and would pass it on to the next creature who consumed it. However, this creature, who ate the bacteria, would likely eat more than one because they need more energy to survive. The pesticide concentration would continue to increase as you reach the most infected creatures at the top of the food chain. With a high concentration, some of the plants and animals throughout the food chain would likely die off. This cycle would continue to affect plants and animals until all the pesticides stopped being sprayed. Death is a risk that is growing from increased spraying. It is virtually impossible for chemicals being sprayed around areas with other plants and animals to not affect them in some way. Humans need to think about the harm that could cause the environment long term if we don't find other methods to substitute spraying. This image shows many types of animals that have been unintentionally killed by pesticides and will continue to be killed if we don't take action. Both fish and humans have been found to have stored DDT in adipose cells or fat cells. When DDT comes in contact with the water, it floats down the stream and can kill off fish. Water contaminated with pesticides has been found between 100 and 200 miles away from where the pesticide was first sprayed. It's a long distance. This water can then leach into the surrounding soil or groundwater and end up in our food or drinking water. Silent Spring offers many other methods of decreasing an insect population without spraying chemicals that will affect the rest of the environment. The methods that were listed in Silent Spring include biological control, which means finding a common enemy, sound, and smell. All of these methods have both positive and negatives, and some more than others. Pesticides' positives are that they potentially delay the invasion of insects. Negatives, it is not a permanent fix. Insects can become resistant, they can kill other unintended plants and animals, and can destroy the balance of nature, can leach into both water and soil, takes a long time to get rid of, costs a lot of money, and it takes time to spray pesticides on fields. Biological control, the positives, are that it uses natural enemies and is cheaper in the long run than pesticides. The negative is that it releases a potentially invasive species. However, most of the species are regulated by the species that you're trying to get rid of. Sound, the positives are that ultrasonic sound has been tested in laboratories and is found to kill mosquito larvae. It can kill within seconds, and it has a lot of potential for our future with electronics. Negatives, however, ultrasonic sound has been found to kill aquatic fish. Smell, the positives are that it works well at attracting insects, and it could be used in combination with the poison, and it's cheaper than using pesticides. The negative is that it may not be able to kill on its own, and therefore we'd still have to rely on pesticides. By acquiescing in an act that can cause such suffering to a living creature, who among us is not diminished as a human being? Silent Spring speaks out about the damage that is being caused by humans without even thinking. We just decide to put a little bit of spray in our plants while not considering the consequences. Carson is looking for a person who will own up and make a change. There are alternative methods to pesticides that in the long run will be cheaper and more efficient. Decided who has the right to decide, for countless legions of people who are not consulted, that the supreme value in a world without insects, even though it also be a sterile world, ungraced by the curving wing of a bird in flight. We are just another species that has grown so overpopulated that we act as if we can rule over the world. However, this quote reflects the true value, the true reality, that we are just another species. Humans do not have the right to make decisions that could ultimately destroy a wide variety of creatures nature has sought to protect. We need to work with nature in order to limit an insect population. There is a fine balance between humans' power and the rest of the world. Sometimes it is important that we just take a step back from the world and understand that life is going on around us. Natural selection and evolution are a huge topic surrounding pesticides. This idea of natural selection connects quite well to the idea of survival of the fittest. The weak insects are killed during cycles of spraying, and surviving few become restraint to the process of genetic selection. This resistance is then passed down to the next generation of insect species. There are now no longer a combination of weak and strong insects, but only the tough insects. ATP is the universal currency of energy, meaning that it helps deliver mechanical energy to the muscle cells and electrical energy to the nerve cells. ATP is used in reproduction and causes cells to divide. However, when pesticides are used, they deprive cells of oxygen needed for ATP. These creatures are not able to grow properly and can end up with deformities which can cause cancer or other malformations. Other times, the egg simply stops dividing and soon dies. This is the reason that species are not able to have babies, because there is too high of a concentration of pesticides in their adipose cells. Silent Spring is a book containing a variety of studies that questions man's role as a leader of this planet. Rachel Carson describes not only the destruction of pesticides and their powers on this earth, but other methods that can take place of pesticides in order to manage insects and weed populations. Carson lends her knowledge to the public in order to help people sort out the main facts versus fantasies surrounding pesticides. She wants people to be aware of the damage that may be causing the environment, as well as the positions that they are putting themselves in. Whether you are a farmer who uses chemicals daily or a homeowner who wants to rid your house of ants, make sure that you are aware of the consequences before taking action. I enjoyed reading this book because it showed me the power of being a human being. It is oftentimes that I feel powerless because I'm not old enough to make decisions for myself, when in fact there are many decisions that I make that affect not only myself, but other people and animals as well. I would recommend this book to anyone who cares about our effects on the environment, so that the next generation of people, plants, and other animals can have what we are fortunate enough to have today. I hope you enjoy listening and watching this PowerPoint, and I hope that you consider the effects that you have on the environment. Thanks!